Good morning, Teach Better family. I'm Jeff. That's Katie. We're live here with you on our Teach Better Today morning show. It's live Monday through Friday every week, 7 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk about life and maybe some other stuff. Maybe something about teaching. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to talk a little bit. We're kind of matching today, but not 100%. So I think we'll have to decide whether this counts or not, Katie. We'll talk about that when we get back here from the opening credits here. We'll see. All right, we are back. Welcome to Teach Better Today, your morning show every weekday at 7 a.m. Eastern time on all your social media networks and, of course, up on the Teach Better Talk podcast. If you're listening or watching live, please drop in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, what's going on today, how you feeling. If you're listening on the podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and if you left a rating and review. That would mean a lot to us as well. Katie, my friend, we were matching recently, which was great. Mm-hmm. We're close today, but I don't feel like I pulled off the right kind of black, and that's my fault. I couldn't find what I thought you would wear, and I just went with this.
That's okay. I mean, our vibes are similar.
Well, this is good. I think so. We're matching vibes, so that's good. At least we're matching vibes. Okay.
Matching vibes.
Okay. How's life? How are things? How is just the stuff going over at the Miglin family?
Good. We're just rocking the weeks, and it's just we're kind of at that we're just like it's a normal week. We've got soccer at night, we've got volleyball at night, so we're kind of like in the thick of school year, which is fun, but also cherishing things.
Both girls play soccer and volleyball, or one and
one? We have Stella, the littlest one, is in soccer, which is it's called Happy Feet, so that tells you the level.
It's called Happy Feet.
It's called Happy Feet. It's mostly like ball coordination and understanding.
What's wrong with your feet, son? They're happy too. Sorry.
So my husband thought I was joking when I was like, yeah, I signed her up for Happy Feet. And he was like, haha, like the penguins. I was like, what? I forgot it.
Like the penguin. And it's called Happy Feet. I once coached butterflies before.
See,
it's called butterflies. That's what it was.
Right. Yeah, and then our oldest is in volleyball. So
in volleyball, do they call? Does that have a fun name?
Volleyball?
Is it like I don't know. I don't know what fun name. What fun name would you? Ooh, there you go. In the comments, what fun name would be good for a volleyball for young kids? I don't know if there's a movie. Nothing's coming. I want to say something with marshmallows, but I don't know how to fit it in there. So.
Okay. Anyway, I look forward to seeing what the comments.
So, any fun weekend stuff coming up, or plans or getaways or family functions, stuff that happens?
We're soaking in as much of the weekends as possible because there will soon be a fifth Miglin, as you know. So September and October are all about just family of four, things that don't require a baby. That's what we're focusing on.
What can we do now that we won't be able to do later? That's like sleep.
Camping.
Do you just sleep all weekend long? Is that what it is?
I mean, yeah, there are a lot more naps.
So when you go camping, you go tent camping or where do you go? Do you go do you have a park close by, or you just go in the backyard?
Yes,
what do you?
We have a preferred park. I don't think it's a state park. It might be, but it's preferred because my criteria is it has to have a flushable bathroom. I just want to be able to flush.
Like a bathhouse somewhere that you can go to.
Where I can actually flush.
Yeah, but that's not you're intense, but it's got to be at a place that has a washroom that you can go and use an actual.
Yes, we don't do. I'm past the point of staying at places where it's a hole in the ground and not a outhouse.
What about ones that are they're not? It's not the indoor plumbing water, but it's just where you push the button and it drops. It's not the same as a porta potty. Really, because that's when I go to Canada, that's what we have up there. That is our restaurant.
I mean, I would have to I guess.
But it's a whole lot nicer camping than in a tent.
Right, so that's the thing. That's what I'm okay with is sleeping. I can sleep places. I've, like, stayed at camps where I've slept literally outside with no tent before,
Sure, sure.
but the bathroom is like, and with 2 kids, like, we just need to go somewhere that there's, like, a roof and I can flush, and that's all I care about. So
Well,
yeah,
we
we have
have
a
that
preferred
too.
place we go to, and it's like 10 minutes from our house, so it's nice because if the weather, like, it's been really hot before, so
Yeah.
we've been able to come home and, like, cool off for, a couple
Yeah,
hours.
yeah. Oh, okay, gotcha, okay.
So, but yeah, we're just kind of like enjoying all the little weekend moments of like that things you can't do when you have a newborn.
I'm actually getting ready to go camp for a weekend with Jonathan. So Jonathan's in
Okay.
scouts.
Yeah,
We're
because
doing
you
a we're
camp
doing camp.
often.
Yeah, a little more because of that. Yeah. So this is, this is one where like and Cub Scouts there, you go to the camp. They have a whole campground here that's
Mhm.
preserved in part. It's actually in the middle of the metro parks. But the scouts bought it years and decades
Mhm.
ago, preserved it and whatever. Anyway, and this is actually like the 100th celebration, so I guess 100 years
Oh,
ago that they established it. So that's kind of fun. So we're
huh.
on that, but like in the Cub Scouts, they have cabins and stuff. So you'd sleep in the cabins, they bunk beds, whatever. Um, but when you cross over to Scouts, you don't sleep in the cabins. It's all tents. So we did our first camp out was last spring. That was the first
Mhm.
time Jonathan did like a full camp out in a tent and by himself. And so this will be out. We've done a couple now, and this will be a fun one. It's not too far from home. It's only like 20 minutes away from our house, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So
Yeah.
they'll do the whole. It's different now. In the Cub Scouts, you're very involved as a parent. In the Scouts, you just kind of like hanging out with the other dads and moms
Yeah.
and whoever's there to support, which is fun because I'll eat really well.
Exactly.
We eat
Ex-
really well, and my favorite thing is the first time I went there, I'm like they were telling me, like, giving me a breakdown of what we were gonna eat. I'm like, "Oh, it sounds good." I'm like, "What are the boys eating?" And their literal response was, "I don't know. That's on them." I'm like, "Oh, I like that." So,
Yes.
um, yeah, so that's exciting. So we got that coming up. So that
That's
is
fun.
there are restrooms there, but they're like cement, like they're not like
Yeah.
porta potties, but they are hole in the ground, but they're like an actual toilet, but like
Yes.
not with
Yes. I know
flushing
what
the
you're talking
toilet.
about.
Yes, thank
For
you.
like the mix. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
Fun
concrete
fact.
building and stuff, yeah, but
Right. Fun fact, I, in high school, every summer worked at a Boy Scout camp. I
oh, really?
volunteered, yeah, for the last week of the summer, they always did Boy Scouts stayed, and then they had severe and profound special needs people come
Okay.
out as, like, a vacation for families that, were
Yep.
helping.
Yeah, I
So,
understand that, yeah.
I
Very
volunteered
cool.
there, which actually is how I fell in love with camping. So,
I love it. Oh, interesting.
mhm.
Okay. Well, I think that's good. That's exciting. So
Yeah, we're
camping,
good.
let us know if you're
Cheers
camping
to
and be like to
camping.
hear anybody else love we know Joshua Stamper loves camping, so I'm curious if anybody else does.
Mhm.
All right, let's get into some talk about I wanna talk about routines and stuff because we talked about this in the last time we were together, but I wanna go a different route. So I'm gonna play this little commercial and we're gonna talk about some routines. And we are back. Welcome back to Teach Better Today, your morning show, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time on all your favorite social media channels and over on the Teach Better Talk podcast. Welcome back. All right, Katie, I want to get right into it. Last
Okay.
time we were together, we talked about, we're into September. We kind of talked about how the households, but also just in general, like into the routine of things, right? Kind of gotten through the
Mhm.
initial shock of all the changes and schedules and stuff like that. And I don't want to necessarily go that we talked a little more about our personal lives and the routines of our kids and stuff, but I want to kind of actually pull on your teacher hat and go into this point of the year. Like there's a good chance most of our community and stuff they're back into school. They're back in the routine of things. Some of them might have only been might be a few weeks in because it started late or whatever. I'm thinking a lot of people are probably back into the routines. The students are getting it figured out. Like it's starting to be kind of settled into like what kind of kids you got this year, all the different changes that have been required of you and what your classroom's going to feel like. And that's great, and hopefully it's all smooth and going well for you, and you're just like, you're back into really loving it and all that stuff. However, I'm curious, Kate, I wanna look in the other way of like, that's great when we get into the routine, we get back to it, and we're feeling good about it, and the students are with us and everything, but what happens it's still kinda early in the year when our routine gets thrown off course, or when something
Mhm.
breaks in our routine and suddenly stops working, or suddenly becomes a bottleneck in the flow of our days and stuff like that. How did you I'm sure that never happened to you. No, yeah. How did you approach that? Because I know you're a very routine person. We talked about you how you have
Mhm.
literally have checklists for your kids to make sure they get routines. And I know your classroom was the same. I know you do a lot of work helping educators to really figure out how to get the routine in place and get the students with it. But how do you deal with the fact, like, once, even like if you're feeling good about the routine, when it gets thrown off or it breaks, or it becomes very obvious that maybe the routine that you thought you needed
Right.
is no longer the routine that you need? How do you address that?
Well, I think first you have to decide why is it thrown off. The beginning of the
Mm,
year can have so many different things. We know we work with, schools that have state testing or some sort of testing that they start the year off that can throw off a schedule. I know when I was in the classroom, we had a lot of like drills and, the fire drill, lockdown drill, all those things happen kind of that first month to make sure students are aware. You might have students coming in and out. Like there's tons of things that might disrupt the routine that's out of your control. So I think you first have to identify why is there a change in routine, and is it something that you can control, or is it just kind of the life of being an educator? If it's something you can control, so if you notice your students have just settled in and maybe they are just not following the initial routines, I always, which this took me a long time to get used to, but I always like lean on they just need a reminder, like they need a refresher. And I think sometimes I was really bad in my early years of I said it once, I said it twice, I'm good. Or, we spend a week practicing and now we're good. And it's like, no, because they're kids. And I think it's taken me a while to realize like that kids are kids and adults are the same way. Like adults aren't a whole lot better, but like practicing and not the repeating. Like I'm not talking like the nagging of like I told you guys to push in your chairs, you've got to push in your chairs, but like really coaching them, which is why I always lean on anything visual. It's why I have the checklist at my house, I had checklists in my classroom, like whatever you want to call it, but just like how do we put our classroom back at the end of the day? If that's something that's falling by the wayside, do they need a visual reminder of like 3 things they need to do before they leave your classroom? Is there a way that you're starting class that's getting kind of disheveled, and is there something that they just need something to like be able to look at? Does your bell ringer or classroom starter need to be revamped? So like kind of evaluating like the things you push out to students, the things you control. Do they need to be just reminded and coached? Do they need more visuals? How can they kind of take the reins? But then I think there's the other thing too of being reflective of if something's not working. And that's sometimes the harder pill to swallow because we might have spent all summer thinking through what are our routines? What do we want our classroom to look like? But then if things aren't going well, you might have to pause and go, maybe what I thought isn't fitting this class or isn't fitting this classroom or this group of students. So we need to adjust. And I love just asking kids, like, hey guys, this is what we are supposed to be doing. You're not doing it. Can someone tell me why? Can we like have an open dialogue as to like, why isn't this working? What will work? And if you really kind of create that culture of openness, students are going to tell you. I taught middle school, so they're pretty open from day one. They're going to tell you what they think. But just being able to like make it a safe space of like, I'm not mad that we're not doing it. I just need like we need to fix it together. And what can we do? And so creating that kind of culture of like, we're going to work together to figure out how this best suits us. Because there have been times where my 3rd hour class needed a completely different set of routines than my 7th hour class. And that had to be okay. It didn't necessarily like jive well with my personality. I like everything to be the same, but it worked better for them. And that was okay. And so kind of coming to an agreement too. So I would say those 3 things. What evaluating if you can't control it, just embracing it and kind of just knowing it's a temporary change in routine. If you can control it, can you reteach, refix, coach? And then if it's something you can't control, talk to the students of like what's going on and how can I help kind of meet them in the middle. You're muted. You're muted. Jeff.
That was me being muted. That's okay. I was muted because I don't have anything important to say. No, I was saying that I really like the fact that you approach that as like, it's not about disciplining them or even
Right.
correcting them because they're not doing something. It's about talking with them, communicating them with them like, hey, like these certain things need to happen every day
Mhm.
and they aren't. So like it's less, I told you, and you're not doing it, and
Right.
more, hey, am I not doing something like to help you do this? Like, what did I
Yes.
not step? And I think that's really powerful because your point, like, well, yes, middle school students are obviously going to be open, but like they're going to be more open in a positive way of being able to actually talk to me like, oh, like I'm not being yelled at right now. I'm being asked for my
Yeah.
opinion, which
But
I
you
love
have
to
to
give.
right. You have to go in knowing what your personal headspace is because there were days
Mm,
I know I didn't handle the conversation well because I was annoyed. Like I was frustrated, it's
sure.
like it's on the board, you guys. Like there were moments where I was just like stressed, tapped out. So it's hard. It's not an easy thing for you to like calmly have a conversation. But if you
Hmm.
know like I'm frustrated by this right now, don't address it then. Come back to it the
Yeah.
next day, come
Yeah.
back to it later so that they actually feel like you can have a conversation. Because the second students see that you're tense about it and that you're upset, like they're not going to be open with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the challenge I think we can put out is to approach these types of hiccups, if we will, speed
Yeah.
bumps,
Yeah, that's all they
you know,
are.
whatever you want to call them. Right? Yeah, I think it's a great way to think of it. Approach them right way, and analyze. The steps that Katie. I'm gonna have you repeat the three things real quick too, but
Mhm.
analyze those and make sure that you're approaching. I think the key. I love that you mentioned the headspace. Like understand where you're at. Like because if you're in the wrong spot today might not be the day to address this. Maybe tomorrow when you have some time to think about it, cool down, then you can address it. If you go in the day knowing like, hey, they're probably
Mhm.
not going to do these things, but let me get myself calm because I'm going to address it today. I think it's key. All right, give me those three things again, and then we're going to leave everybody with that. So these three things, go.
So, are the change in routines out of your control? If they are, embrace it. It's temporary. Just kind of embrace it in the temporary and
Hmm.
move on. If it's things you can control, so do they need to have more visuals? Do they need to be coached a little more, taught a little bit more? Do that. If you feel like you're doing everything you can, open it up to students and get their feedback as to why things aren't working and how you can readjust to better suit their needs.
I love it. Awesome. Good talk. Drop in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know how
Yeah.
you address these types of things, how you tackle this type of problem, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Bye,
Appreciate
friends.
y'all.
Hey, Teach Better community. Thank you so much for joining the Teach Better Today morning show every single weekday at 7 a.m. Eastern. We have so many resources for you outside of this live stream at teachbetter.com, including blogs, podcasts, and professional development that will bring our team to your school. Wherever you are listening from this morning, please make sure you are sharing and celebrating the incredible educators in this world. And hey, if you are listening over on a podcast to Teach Better Talk, we would love a 5-star review. The comments are always so entertaining. We'll see you tomorrow.